Hey everybody, it is Mike. It is Saturday, so that means it's time for the Slashback challenge. This week's challenge was any 80s slasher. If you don't know about the Slashback challenge, it is a little challenge put out by our friend Joe at TheHORRORman. Every week he gives us a new challenge, and it is up to us to find a slasher that fits that challenge. This week I went with a movie that is new to my collection and one that I have never seen before, and that is Splatter University. Splatter University was released in 1984. It is a little over an hour and 15 minutes long. It is directed by Richard W. Haynes. It's also co-written by Mr. Haynes as well as Michael Cunningham. It stars Francine Forbes, who now goes by Forbes Daily, or Forbes Riley. She stars as Kathy. She is our lead girl. It also stars Rick Randing as our lead guy, I guess. His name is Mark. There is also Dick Beal, who plays the head of the university, Father Jansen, as well as some other characters. But those were really the main three. The rest of the characters consisted of other staff members. So there was a couple other fathers or priests that were in the movie, and a couple other employees of the university, and then, of course, the students. The plot of this movie is an escaped mental patient stabs his way out of a mental hospital in kind of a icky way. He starts out by basically stabbing some guy in his junk, and then eventually slitting his throat and stealing his uniform. Problem is, his uniform has a big old blood spot on the crotch because, well, he just stabbed that dude in his junk. So he just kind of covers it up with a white smock and walks right on out of the hospital. A couple years later, we are at a university. There is a teacher working in her room. Somebody knocks at her door several times, and rather than coming in, she ends up having to get up and open the door for whoever it is, who immediately slashes her throat, and she dies. We have no idea why. We have no idea who she really was until the movie progresses on, and she is replaced by our lead girl, Miss Forbes, who plays Julie. Now, Julie's fresh out of college. She's ready to start her academic career, and she's excited to have this new job, even though it's not exactly perfect for her. She still, puts forth the effort to be a good teacher. We meet her snarly college kids, her students, which to me was kind of odd because normally college kids aren't like all lazy and bored and all of that craziness. They're paying for it, so they're usually somewhat involved if they're there. So we meet these various kids as the movie goes along, and of course there's a few of them that end up getting killed. Shocker, it's a slasher, come on. We really have no idea who the slasher is or why the person is doing the killing. I mean, we all think it's this escaped person, at least I did, but I didn't know who that person was. So, whoever... There were various characters that it could have been, and there were a few red herrings that they threw out there. As the movie progressed, we get more of an idea of who it might be. Kathy thinks it's Mark, her love interest, mainly because he seems to be gone when these killings are happening, and she breaks into his apartment and finds like different newspaper articles about the killings. So, yep, she automatically thinks it's Mark. So she flips out after her friend Kathy is killed, and she's done. She's leaving. And that's when the showdown begins. So she ends up back at the university to submit some papers to the priest. Mark shows up at the university, and there's all kinds of craziness that ensues. And we have kind of a shocking end and a little bit of a twist. So this movie, of course, being an 80s movie, there's not any CGI blood or gore or any of that. It's all practical kills, practical effects, mainly by knife. You don't see a whole lot of anything else. But a lot of fun. It's an interesting little story. It has a good ending. Characters are fine. The acting is not necessarily going to set the world on fire. I did think that the lead girl was good. The girl who played Kathy. I also thought that the father, Jansen character was a good character. Mark was a good character. Very interesting. There were a couple of annoying characters, but you want to know something? I went to college, and there were a lot of annoying characters there too. So I'll give them a pass on that. But yeah, if you're interested in the fun, typical 80s movie, this was, of course, early 80s, so the hair wasn't quite as big as it could have been. The shoulder pads were not as prevalent